What's up, people? Nature Girl 30 here. As you can see, I am, well, as usual, I'm either in my pajamas or have my scarf on and I'm just in laid back mode. But honestly, guys, I'm going to say this. I really do like the way that Raw started out. And it kind of made me think about how much hatred is still towards John Cena. You can't really hate on the guy because he has a character that best fits with him. Everyone keeps saying he needs to go heel, he needs to go heel, he needs to go heel. He did that, and it was corny. It's just something that just didn't work for him. Him possibly being a frustrated face is more of a better character for him, and I gotta admire the guy for sticking to his guns and not caving in to the masses because of what they wanted him to do. And honestly, I really do feel, in my humble opinion, that this guy will bring prestige and honor back to the World Heavyweight Championship. Because as you can see, they're too focused, too busy being focused on the brand belt and not focused on the World Heavyweight Championship belt. And honestly, even though he's still in the Breakfast Club, he has the second-rate belt in their opinion. But honestly, I really feel that John Cena is going to bring a lot of prestige and honor back to that belt, and it's going to make that belt mean something again, unlike Alberto Del Rio, which didn't at all. But honestly, I like the opener. I like the way that he came out saying that he's ready to go, and people say, oh, he came back too early, which is what everybody was saying. That's how I personally felt. But then I also kind of thought, if you have a tendon injury, more than likely if you have an injury for your biceps tendon or any tendon in your body, it's going to probably take maybe 2 to 4 months for healing because you have a lot of blood flow in your tendons. But as for ligaments, ligament tears ligament tears will take about 4 to 6 months, maybe a little bit more, out of whatever schedule that you have, out of your work schedule, because there's barely any blood flow going through your ligaments. So it kind of makes sense with his extensive therapy as well as how healthy he is. And let's face it, we all know in scientific fact that men have better blood flow than women. Honestly, it makes sense. In a scientific, anatomical standpoint, if I actually use those words correctly. But in the end, I really do feel that he does deserve at least a good 4 to 6 months off so he won't re-tear the injury. But honestly, I think that he's good, prime, ready to go. He's young, he's all there. But that wasn't so much the interesting part. The interesting part was, for many times I have said it before, the Money in the Bank briefcase no longer has any meaning ever since Triple H put his 2 cents in it and made Randy Orton to be the champion just by giving it to him. And that showed from tonight. We had Damien Sandow. He had every opportunity to cash in every pay-per-view that he was on. He had an opportunity to cash in one of the big fours and possibly get a decent payoff. Maybe Survivor Series would have been the best time to cash in, but let's face it, they wanted the Money in the Bank briefcase to die, and die it did. And unfortunately, it also died with Damien Sandow's possible hopes of being a champion for a while, and it completely buried him. Even though he literally took it to John Cena with everything that he had, it wasn't enough to take him out, and he ended up losing after cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on Raw. Yeah. If they really wanted the briefcase to die, they succeeded. Seriously, straight up. But honestly, the matches themselves, they're usually pretty good. But for me, I'm not going to be so much focused on the matches, except for one possible little mini botch that happened with the Divas match. And it's the second Divas match with Summer Rae and Natalya, but I'll get into that later. The thing is that I'm more interested in this corporate storyline and how it's going to pan out and how it's literally affecting the masses. And that's how it's supposed to be. And honestly, it's still not all there. I still feel like they're running out of ideas. And now there's so much focus on Randy Orton. And I'm going to get to that further down the line. But there's one thing that I really am interested in. The Wyatt family. For some reason, the Wyatt family are targeting the upper guys. They target, good grief, they took out Daniel Bryan, and then after that, and then they took out CM Punk. Like, CM Punk for the Wyatt and then and instead of saying follow the buzzards. He's now saying the devil made me do it. And top that off, my favorite monster Kane is now a corporate monster. He is literally owned now by Stephanie McMahon, which lets me know that the Wyatt family, the guys, the group that I have grown to love as psychotic monster heels, are now owned by Stephanie McMahon. Yeah. Devil in a black leather dress is what it was, or brown, or whatever that monstrosity she was wearing tonight. But honestly, devil in devil in a skirt, or pitbull in a skirt. I guess that's a better way of saying it. But on the real, she took my monsters down, man. They own them. She owns them. Well, I guess I can't really be upset about it because that's what I really wanted. I wanted this corporate storyline to spread like a plague. And somehow there'll be one person to stop the plague before it diminishes everything. That person is no longer Daniel Bryan because, let's face it, John Cena is back. But nothing is affecting him as of yet. When things start affecting John Cena is when John Cena is going to lead the charge. But unfortunately, Daniel Bryan is not going to be one of them. But I will say this. It was really satisfying to see him take down HBK. Because this is one thing that I never expected HBK to be. This guy has literally transformed himself from how he was in DX onto now. And seeing him become he was literally like, that he was Mr. Christian. Like, seriously, he went from DX to being Mr. Christian. And now Mr. Christian has turned jerk. Seriously, he became a jerk within 5 minutes. That was something I really didn't expect this character to go. He went from being Shawn Michaels to being the showstopper. Like, seriously, all in one heap. He literally turned back to being the Heartbreak Kid. Like, he went from being Shawn Michaels, the humble guy that completely changed his life, to the Heartbreaker Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. I never expected him to go back to that whole role. I never expected that. But honestly, it was kind of an interesting change. And seeing how the Daniel Bryan did that to him, I'm really hoping that somehow maybe a possible feud will start up. But I don't think HBK is going to do it because I don't think he can fight anymore. Or if he can, I don't think he wants to do it. But it will really be an interesting feud to see these guys go at it. And I'm really hoping that's going to happen. But it's kind of interesting how what the whole happened with the Wyatt family and what happened with Daniel Bryan kind of spilled onto the Divas match, especially with Brie Bella. And Brie really wasn't all there, and Tamina kind of took over. AJ Lee's whole psychotic Lolita gimmick is starting to really get stale. I'm hoping somehow they do something with her character or reinvent her to where she becomes a little bit more interesting. But we'll see that down the line. But I want to talk about the second Divas match later on after that. Summer Rae has really impressed me a lot with her skills. I know a lot of people switch off when it comes to Divas matches and they go find snacks or something. But Summer Rae has really impressed me. Since I saw her at NXT not that long ago, it really shows me that this girl has potential. She has potential to be out on her own once the whole Fandango thing dies out. It really shows me that she has a possibility of going out on her own and actually being a completely separate character from Fandango. And I'm really impressed because she's the only diva that I have seen since Natalya that has used more than one submission hold. Divas do not use submission holds. Not these days, except for Natalya, but she was trained in the dungeon. But obviously Natalya trained all the divas, but she's the only one that I have seen so far on Raw to use a submission hold. Besides AJ Lee. AJ Lee pretty much uses maybe one or two, but she's used a lot. And not only that, you can tell that she's quite coordinated because of the way she dances. And also her dancing skills is kind of like, reminds me of Charlotte, except Charlotte actually uses her gymnastic skills in the ring. And it's really astounding, like the way she kind of fuses her fighting style with gymnastics. Summer Rae kind of fuses it all together. Like, not only is her dancing skills make her more coordinated, she also uses submission holds, and she's very quick on the draw. I really do hope that somehow that she builds up a few big enough for her to actually go against AJ Lee, because I think she'll be able to take AJ Lee out, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. But let's move on to the main event of the night. I can talk about CM Punk all day, but I'm not going to do that because I really didn't care much for the whole street fight. I didn't. But honestly, the main event of the night, and this is the one thing that kind of grinds my gears a little bit. If you're really trying to focus so much on the Big Show, the lawsuit, the fact that he's about to sue the Triple H for millions of dollars for defamation of character, and all this other stuff, for crying out loud, make it more realistic by not having his music on. If you want to make him seem like a fugitive and somebody that you have fired, don't you think that you should not play his music coming in, let alone making it easy for him to get on the ramp and come down? Make it realistic. Have him come down from the crowd without nobody knowing. Have him pull a shield. Have him come down from the crowd with no one know and come out and just demolish things and leave. Do what you did with The Miz and R-Truth. When The Miz and R-Truth were fired, they didn't have no music coming down. They just ambushed you. And then they left. That's what the whole realism of the thing would have made it more powerful if he did that. He was like, look, I have nothing to lose. That's great. I understand that. And that really made it, I mean, he actually did have a little great segment there. A little great promo. But honestly, it would have been more realistic for me if they literally did not play out his music and just made him like a renegade, just a rebel with a cause. If they made him like that, then I would have really kind of been absorbed in it more. And the one thing about Randy Orton, there's such thing as appreciating the guy, but they're straight up worshiping him, and that's the one thing I don't understand. Randy Orton during his Legend Killer days was phenomenal. He was like absolutely brilliant. I mean, the guy was sadistic. Not only was he sadistic and evil, he was literally smart enough to break off from Evolution after Evolution dumped him and create his own group, Legacy, which actually, in my opinion, kind of gave birth to one of the best tag teams that I have ever seen, with Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes. Those guys were awesome as a tag team, and Legacy themselves, even though Randy Orton was in the middle, he was the leader, it made him look good. That was one of the best groups he ever started. And he never depended on Triple H. He never depended on the corporate hierarchy for him to do anything. He literally took out Triple H and his entire family. And that's the one thing I admired about the Legend Killer during that day. But now he said, oh, he matured, he grew as a guy. He did not. Number one, the guy is very sloppy in the ring still. His moves alone causes people to have injuries to where they're out for several months at a time. And he's been doing this for 9 years? And number two, he's heavily dependent on people that are higher than him. He's heavily dependent on the whole corporate faction thing. During his Legend Killer days, he didn't care. He just came, took you out, took what he wanted, and left. But now things are handed to him. He's not the same guy. He's actually downgraded, in my opinion. He's downgraded as a heel. But honestly, the way that it ended, I'm really hoping that it leads up to a Triple H Big Show match. That's truly a David versus Goliath style match, straight up. And honestly, I'm hoping it'll happen. But will Triple H fight? Who knows? But honestly, guys, I want to hear your thoughts about tonight's Raw. Leave your comment in the comment section below or send a video response on what you think about Raw. What matches would you change? What characters would you change? I want to know it all. This is Nate Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.